I wonder if my experience would have been any different if I had seen this along with Oppenheimer. I am so glad that they both came out at the same time. I mean, the fact that like you have the brightest, happiest movie to come out in the past 10 years right alongside one of the darkest, most intense movies to come out in the last 10 years come out in the same weekend. Please tell me that wasn't a coincidence. Barbie took the world by storm, or I guess a more accurate way of saying it, it took Twitter by storm with all of its modern day politics and its sort of wokeism, depending on who you are. And I kind of went into it bracing myself for that particular narrative. I went into it thinking that I'm just going to get a movie that is anti men and is pro feminist, and it's just going to kind of hit me over the head like a propaganda piece. But I was pleasantly surprised. I actually think that this is a very well balanced movie. In the end, at least. I think that by the end, they kind of wrapped it up as being a very well balanced movie. At the beginning, it was so just completely dripping with irony and sarcasm that I honestly couldn't tell if the movie legitimately hated men or if it was actually making fun of people who legitimately hate men. But like I said, by the end, it turned out to be a pretty positive message for everyone. I think my interpretation of the movie was that it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, we need to be equal. Of course, I know I'm not shattering any minds here. I'm not shattering any brains. We need equal opportunities, and men and women have different strengths and weaknesses. So that's what I got out of it. I think that that is a pretty good message for what it was advertised. I absolutely loved the opening 10 minutes of this movie that were just showing these incredible set pieces and the colors and everything. It was just incredible. I mean, I felt like it was almost like a kind of a remix video that you would watch on YouTube of someone who takes a source material and decides to make it their own meme. But the fact that it was coming out of like a professional studio was pretty darn incredible. The humor was probably heavily influenced by the Lego Movie. The Lego Movie is one of the most meta movies I've ever seen in my life, and I feel like Barbie is especially meta, maybe even a little too much so at times. Like you can break the fourth wall, that's great. But if you have like Velma levels of breaking the fourth wall, it can be a little bit cringy. Like, okay, we get it, like you're self-aware. But I don't think it ever like completely stepped over a line. Not to the point of thinking that they're overdoing it and taking me out of the movie. Margot Robbie was, of course, amazing as Barbie. I feel like she could play anything. She could play anything. Doesn't matter what gender. doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what she's playing. I feel like she could play anything. If you're an aspiring actress, I feel like all you have to do is be hired in a Scorsese film as the hapless wife of this drug addicted and even more power addicted maniac, and then you're set. You're set to go as long as you have some talent. But seriously, she was amazing. She perfectly captured that sort of innocent happiness that goes with this surprising arc of a story, or surprisingly long arc of a story to come to the end and sort of mature in her own ways while keeping that same Barbie innocence. Ryan Gosling was great as Ken. There were a few actors who were going to play Ken, but then like due to COVID-19 and other things, they kind of turned him down to great regret. But honestly, I can't imagine anyone else playing Ken. I think that Ryan Gosling did a great job. And I'm also glad that he is officially getting away from his pretty boy roots. Even though, I mean, I have a pretty objective mind. I can tell when a man is handsome. But like, I've never really, I don't know. I've just always thought he has kind of a dopey face. But in any case, I'm glad that he's kind of getting away from those roots, those rom com roots, and he's really establishing himself as a comedic actor. Because I think that's his sweet spot. I think that he is in his element when he's being a comedian. Yeah, he's had a few, he dipped his toe into action with Drive, and he's even dipped his toe into like Art House with another movie made by the same director. Uh, but I think his thing is comedy. Like his comedic timing is amazing. Like with Crazy Stupid Love, he was amazing in that, and he's amazing as Ken, this sort of goofy, exactly who you would expect Ken to be. He perfectly encapsulates it, and all of his supporting Kens do a fantastic job as well. They're all amazing. I also really like the fact that they got Michael Cera in here. Like if you need anyone to embody awkward, it's Michael Cera. Like if you need to add just like a little pinch of awkwardness into your movie, just bring Michael Cera into it. There's nothing else you need to do. I will say the one thing that really annoyed me about this movie, and one thing that annoys me in real life, and I'm probably going to kick over a hornet's nest with this, is the term mansplaining. Um, and again, I know that the movie kind of brings to light the fact that it's not to be taken super seriously, but at the same time maybe it is. Like I think they are legitimately trying to critique the concept of mansplaining. Now to me it's like, okay, if I'm if I think that you can't do something simply because you're a woman, or I think you can't do something or you can't understand something simply because you're a woman, yes, that is completely sexist and has no place anywhere in life, no place anywhere in entertainment. But I enjoy explaining my passions to anyone who will listen. I enjoy explaining my views of movies. If you're watching, thank you for watching, by the way. If you're a man or a woman, I don't care. And there's a scene like where this one of the Kens and one of the Barbies are watching The Godfather, and the woman asks him about a certain aspect of The Godfather, and he turns around and he starts excitedly explaining it to her. Like, is there something wrong with talking about the things that you love? Do I have to feel like I'm walking on eggshells when I'm going to explain the things that I love just because you're a woman? It doesn't. I just don't like to. I don't like to think about the fact that I need to hold myself back because I might be offending you for explaining the things that I enjoy. Especially if you ask. I mean, one of the things I love the most is the sport of football, American football. And when I'm watching with my mom or I'm watching with my grandmother, which does actually happen, and they ask a question, I love explaining it. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they're women and that I think I'm somehow superior to them because football, there's never been a female professional player, and it's mostly a sport that men like. It has nothing to do with it. It's just that I love football and I want to bring them into my love for it. I want to share it with them. So to me, if someone is mansplaining, they're simply sharing their love of a certain hobby or interest with someone else. And yes, if the perspective, if the motive of it is that you're a woman, therefore you can't understand football, or therefore you can't understand Godfather simply because of your gender, yes, that's horrible. And that is completely and utterly sexist. But if you are simply trying to invite them into what you love, I don't see the problem with it. So I don't really appreciate the fact that the movie brought that up. I don't appreciate when anyone really brings it up. But yeah, moving on. So if you haven't seen Barbie by now, I'm sure that you've seen it all over social media, and you probably have some kind of opinion forced on you, kind of like when Donald Trump was in office. Donald Trump was in office, you had to have an opinion on him. There's no way you could be neutral. There's no way that you could just be a passerby. You had to have an opinion on him. So anyway, I'm sure you have some kind of opinion on Barbie, and I'm sure you have some kind of opinion on what I said about mansplaining. So whatever it is, comment down below and let me know. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next cinematic adventure.